sure you stay in good conversation. You gotta tune in to Coffee and Conversation with Collette. That's me. Thursday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on the only station, WHPR TV 33. See you soon. We're back. More Coffee and Conversation with Collette. If you're just tuning in, great Friday to you. You're going to the little bit after the 8 o'clock hour. We're talking about does character matter in leadership. I also opened up the lines for us, so it is our Freestyle Friday, so we can talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about as well. But we, in the previous hour, showed a clip from Machiavelli that discussed political theory, and that in order to be an effective leader, you have to have some level of criminality, dishonesty, and you just can't be liked in order to create fear, to have people follow you. I'm asking, is it important to us? What does character look like to us? So I'm going to go to the lines. I appreciate your patience. And caller, I know I saw someone dropped off. Call back. I'm going to get to you. Thanks for your patience. But let me see who's there. Great morning to you. Thanks for your patience.
Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, walaikum assalam.
We talked about things yesterday, Mr. Collette.
Yes.
Here's what we should know.
Okay.
We still not on the basic. The father of the earth being the keeper of the earth. I'm talking about us. Mother Earth being the mother of the earth. Knowing who you are first. That mother's love is born in you.
Okay.
The father's love that's born in you.
Okay.
The father, love yourself first. The mother's love yourself first. And then when you come together, you father and mother each other. And then in turn, you love, you mother and father your children and grow them and teach them the human part that is natural first. We haven't followed that basic yet. Then we haven't followed Mother Africa, Father Africa, Home Africa. That place is our original home. We're not descendants. You can take us out of Africa, but you can't take Africa out of us.
Okay.
We haven't got the simple part. You haven't grown up with who you are. You're integrated with somebody else's separatism, hatred, and killing.
Yes.
Their culture.
Yes. Yes.
You don't even understand your own culture yet. I said to you, I come up with that.
Yeah.
I thank Allah for the Muslim part of our culture.
Yeah.
I thank Allah for Alex Haley when he brought together roots. He told you about when Hitler talked to Kunta Kinte. He said, Kunta Kinte said to Hitler, y'all talk about Jesus and we pray to Allah. And then when he saw one of his from Home Africa, the first thing he said, Assalamu alaikum. He said, Salaikum salam. One did not even do that and grew with that. They haven't even acknowledged that and put that in their head. Okay, now, and I said to you, as everybody was going in and out of my mother's father, my house before my mother died in 1953. I listened to, they talk about Catholicism, they talk about the Christianity, but I listened to the Muslim part because they was talking about us, and they was talking about the Dakota in the Bible. Then when we went south, my great aunt introduced me to some Arapaho Indians, Cheyennes, Cherokees, and Apaches, and they talked about the white culture, and they said how they butchered their women and children like meat, and they did the same with ours. And remember that clip when we talked about the lady hung up by her feet, and they split her baby? We talked about those things. But they, in turn, was talking about how we was treated. And I said, my great aunt even talked about, because I was talking about what I was hearing, and she said, I'm glad you talking about it. And she said, well, son, everybody is immigrants except the native Indian. I'll always tell you, this is a native Indian country. But those, as they talked and said, and then she said, son, we're from Africa, and she talked about my side, our side of the family come from South Africa. I always knew, she said, you're a Zulu, son, so as you grow, you'll find out more about yourself. And she said, those people is the Musa part of your culture. Listen to them, because they know what they're talking about, okay? And you got some people down today say, the Musa part of our culture, what do they mean? But they're the one that got you started, call yourself African Americans. Because before that, because you call yourself Negro.
Right, right.
And then y'all use the term and y'all use the word nigger. I don't use that. I don't use Negro. I don't use nigger.
Right.
Okay, so you haven't got the basic part of yourself together. Now let's go to this system.
Yeah.
Look at them. They don't have no humanity. They kill each other. They go against each other. The white culture got no humanity. After all this time, you don't have normal survival. And ask yourself this question.
Okay.
It does not take what they're talking about. Everybody right now should be making $15 an hour and up. Go back when I was young and coming up, you could take a penny and buy 3 pieces of candy. The average person in the 50s and back there in my time, you could buy a car for $5,000. This home I'm in right now costs $21,000.
Yeah.
This house has been paying for 15 years, no liens on it. Now let's go back even further than that.
Yeah.
You could get a home for about $2,500, the best homes back in the days.
Yeah.
Okay, now the average person could take $10 and feed their family. Now, if you had a bigger family, it took about 25 or 30. But a single person could feed themselves on $10 because a penny, 5 cents, 25 cents, 50 cents, a dollar could buy whatever you need. But today, everything you got, the average car today costs you $16,000. That's the cheapest car. And the average home costs you $70,000, $100,000 and more.
Yeah.
Now, how are you going to survive in a place with the underpay they making today at $7 to $8, $12 an hour? $12 an hour don't get you nowhere. $15 an hour will give you some kind of balance. Now let's go back to the factory industry, going all the way back, Miss Collette. Going to the 1930s, going back to Highland Park, Detroit, and looking at where Ford and everybody and where we just, the reason why the 1930s happened is because we, as a people, started to make it. You can see us all online. It wasn't about they didn't have what it takes. They broke that to have the depression to defeat us. Now rise it up and keep rising until they got to Dodge Lane where my father worked, and I eventually worked.
Right, right.
They eventually did the same thing to me that they've been doing all the time. They broke us down, and we ended up leaving Dodge Lane, and we went to Jefferson Center. That's when they put General Motors there. Okay, then we got there, and then we came up with the same thing that every time we get to make it, they come up with something. So Coleman Young, Jimmy Carter, Lee Iacocca got together, and they put a package together, and we went 10 years without a raise. And before you know it, guess what they did again? They put us out in the street, and then they built Jefferson North.
Right.
Then Jefferson North got to run it again. Then Obama came, and then they started the same mess again. They broke that down again. And then they say the automobile industry. What I'm pointing out to you, the automobile industry's been doing what they've been doing for a long time. And here's the whole key to it. They know that we're making it. And every chance they get, they'll break it down. Now listen to this.
Okay.
After they get what they want, this time it's going to take them about 3 years for everybody to get back on their feet. And then they'll bring everything back, and then everything okay. Trust me, in years to come, they're going to be doing the same thing again. They make something happen, break you down, and then you have to regrow again. When do you get it? You have to stay focused on what they're doing. You have to also know that you have to put together and own something, have something, and make sure that you, and the number one thing, Collette, when you was talking about what are you after, you got to be able to survive. You got to have health and wellness, and then know about your culture, know about thyself. Stop being so ignorant to this. This system is not yours, and one day we're going to have our own.
Yes.
You got one building right there. WHPS has shown you, look what we got. Now let's build from there and grow. Now what you should do is build and grow from where you at. You got to have your own too.
Yeah.
And now, all day walking to Henry Tyler, you done struggled, you done struggled at every level. Now you at a good struggle. I done struggled at every level. Now I'm at a good struggle. Now let's finish it.
Sure.
And once you get there, you gotta keep it stable.
Okay.
We gotta deal with it ourselves. I love you. I love be with you always.
I love to be with you as well. Have an amazing rest of the day. I mean, he makes a great point. So let's just stick there. So if we're talking about General Motors, I got this great clip. So CNN, we've been talking about, of course, General Motors laying off. What does the future look like for General Motors? And of course, we are still the automobile capital. We are still known throughout this world as the forefront, the established space for the automobile. And so now GM is talking about laying people off. What does the future look like under CEO Mary Barra? And so Trump has made some threats. I got a clip. Let's go to the clip if we can. CNN. It's a few minutes long. It just talks about really what it looks like, to the point about, factory work, this repetitive cycle of an auto industry, specifically one that was bailed out through President Barack Hussein Obama, and now we're at it again. So let's see what the clip has to say.
Magic wand. President Trump moments ago bragging that he has found the magic wand for American manufacturing. On the same day, General Motors, the nation's largest car maker, announced it's cutting more than 14,000 jobs. Here's Donald Trump tonight.
The previous administration, they said manufacturing's never coming back. It's gone. You need a magic wand. Well, we found the magic wand, and that's actually going to be increasing by a lot in the next short while because we have a lot of companies moving in.
He didn't say which ones, but here's what we know. That whole magic wand thing was just 8 hours after this.
This news just into CNN. General Motors, the iconic American automaker, is cutting staff and closing plants. CNN has just learned that General Motors will cut 15% of its salaried staff.
Breaking news on the future of General Motors right now. We're hearing they are slashing jobs.
Slashing jobs. And look, you know what? At first, before this whole magic wand business, the president was angry. Mary Barra, the CEO of General Motors, was at the White House today, and the president slammed her personally.
Well, we don't like it. I believe they'll be opening up something else, and I was very tough. I spoke with her when I heard they were closing, and I said, you know, this country's done a lot for General Motors. Hopefully she's going to come back and she's going to put something, but I told her I'm not happy about it.
Making it personal. Well, one thing is for sure, it is political for the president because it shows that President Trump's promise on car jobs, at least as of this evening, appears false. Here he is just last year while visiting a community near the General Motors plant that is shutting down in Ohio.
I was looking at some of those big, once incredible job-producing factories, and my wife, Melania, said, "What happened?" I said, "Those jobs have left Ohio." They're all coming back. They're all coming back. Coming back. Don't move. Don't sell your house.
Don't sell your house. Those are painful words to hear played back today, but they're part of a long litany of promises that Trump made to car country voters. Promises that did net him votes. Trump won Trumbull County, where the Ohio plan is closing, by 6 points. That is a nearly 30-point swing from 2012. Obama won it by a massive 22 points. Think about that. A nearly 30-point swing based on an explicit promise of car jobs to voters there and in other states, where General Motors tonight is now closing plants amidst mass layoffs.
You people know something about the car industry because I'm bringing it back to the state of Michigan, right? We have many car companies coming back in. They're going to Michigan, they're going to Ohio, they're going to the states where they want to be. You look at what's happening with Ford and with General Motors in Michigan and Ohio. You look at the tremendous number of jobs that are being announced in so many different fields.
Well, here's what we're looking at tonight. 414,000 layoffs in those states from General Motors. Reality can be tough to take for this president. We all know that. And so tonight he's saying that the layoffs have nothing to do with him or his tariffs.
No, not tariffs. That had nothing to do with tariffs. He said the car was not selling.
Okay, cars were not selling. True. There's another problem, though. Today, General Motors' press release said trade costs are among the, quote, headwinds General Motors is facing, echoing a dire warning from the car company this summer that if the president had read it, foreshadowed today's bad news. Here's General Motors this summer, quote, increased import tariffs could lead to a smaller GM, a reduced presence at home and abroad for this iconic American company, and risk less, not more American jobs. Well, that was, it looked like a foreshadowing of where we are. And that is tonight. Mass layoffs announced, and a president who at the same time, hours from that, is bragging that he has a magic wand that has fixed American manufacturing. Pamela Brown is out front live outside the White House tonight. And Pamela, the president is in Mississippi tonight. That's where he's bragging about his so-called magic wand.
Yeah, that's right, Aaron. The president responding to this announcement from GM that it will be slashing jobs and closing plants by first criticizing GM CEO Mary Barra and then touting just moments ago at this rally in Mississippi that the trade deals he's been making will lead to more companies moving to the U.S. and an increase in U.S. products. But the president didn't specify which companies he's talking about. He only said that he has found the magic wand when it comes to manufacturing. But what we do know, Aaron, is that this move by GM goes against one of the president's key promises. He has made the revival of the manufacturing industry a focus of his, a priority in his administration, and he has a track record of publicly criticizing companies that either shut down or move abroad, as he is now doing with GM. We know he talked to Mary Barra, the CEO, last night before the announcement. She was here at the White House today meeting with Larry Kudlow in what was a pre-planned meeting. According to the White House, he claims he was tough with her. Unclear what he meant by that, but he did make reference to the financial bailout of GM many years ago, and he also said that she needs to move something else to Ohio and find a car that sells better. Aaron.
All right, Pamela Brown, thank you very much. And of course, the president, by the way, up in the ante on his tariff talk, telling the Wall Street Journal he wants more of them, including a 10% tariff on iPhones. So that's a price increase of 10% on the iPhone.
Hello, character and leadership. See how the bait and switch happened? So President Trump doesn't want to take responsibility for what he has the movement that he's created in this tariff catastrophe, because it's directly having an impact at home. But he's saying that he doesn't have anything to do with it. And let me just let us know, let me correct myself. December 19th, 2008, President Bush approved a bailout plan and gave General Motors and Chrysler $13.4 billion in financing from TARP, which is the Troubled Assets Relief Program funds, as well as $4 billion to be withdrawn later. That's a lot of money. And I'm just trying to say, if there is not a plan of constantly reinventing yourself as a corporate entity on the backs of the people, and the people aren't benefiting, 14,000 people at layoff is huge right now. It's huge at any time, but specifically right now. But it's about character. So now you want to assassinate Mary Barra as the CEO of GM, who was forced, in my opinion, to be reactionary based on what the tariffs that Trump has created, and now it's her fault. And so now you're going to get on your soapbox and you're going to go across this country and talk about, oh, you have the magic wand. Well, wave it. Wherever it is, bring it out. Be the wizard, why don't you? Because we need to see something different, because it's smoke and mirrors. It's the constant conversation about expectation. So his character goes to show you that I'm not going to take ownership for what I create. I'm going to constantly spin you. He's a spin-golly. And so you're not, so now we're mad at GM, we're blaming GM, and now I'm going to create something else for you. So GM is bad. Now he's attacking, again, leadership as an attack. That shows you who his character is again. I'm going to attack leadership for GM, and then I'm going to say that I have the answer for something else. Again, not taking ownership that he created the catastrophe in the first place. I just think some of the people need to get the money. If you're going to bail out corporations, and even when all the shares were being reissued, the return still wasn't what it should have been for that. So there was a loss on those stocks from GM anyway. And when are the people going to get a bailout? That's what we should be. Hello? That's what legislation should be pushing. A bailout for the citizen. Not reparation, a bailout. How is that? Because if we can give $4 billion to corporate entities, if we can get tax breaks for folks that are moving right down into Southwest Detroit for all this new building, if we can constantly give folks all these credits for doing development downtown, why can't the people get a bailout? Why aren't we having that conversation? Because I get people that call into the office every day. They can't pay their lights. They can't pay their water. They're losing their property for taxes. And people, I'm just talking about not trying to live. This is survival, like the basics. But we can't find money for that. I can't find money that your roof is leaking. Can't do that. But I'm just throwing around money, billions. Like I'm just throwing around like it's hundreds. I'm just asking. Did we think about that? Is there any ownership on that? Or we, again, are so inundated with the day-to-day struggles that we can't even think about anything that's outside of us. And that's when deals are being made and policies being created and legislation is being enacted that does not benefit the average citizen yet again. Because all we're trying to talk about is how to survive and not live. But it goes back to the propaganda, who we put in place, and the character of leadership. We can't get away from it. Let me go to the line. Thanks for your patience. Good morning to you.
Can you hear me, Miss Collette?
Yes.
Okay. This is Miss Retired Auto Worker Lady that called into your show a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, ma'am.
What I want to say is this is not something that's new. In the 1980s, you had the people in the school system and the churches telling these young people they must finish high school because the job market is going to change.
Yeah.
We, as black people, are going to have to change our concept. We cannot depend on these automobile jobs to take care of ourselves. The money that the people are making in the automobile industry now that are coming in is not money to allow you to have a middle-class income. And that's just the bottom line.
Okay.
Those people will never get back up to $30 an hour. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to change the way we handle our money. We're going to have to change our value system.
Yes.
And we're going to have to keep emphasizing you must go to school to find another vocation.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I have been out in the street from 1968 all up to when they had before the bankruptcy.
Okay.
It's no piece of cake raising a family when you work in the automobile industry anyway.
Right.
You got years, you don't know what it's like to be on home with your weekend up with your family. You're going to have years you just make 40 hours. You're going to have years you're going to work 1 week, and the other 3 weeks you draw unemployment. So this is nothing new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, firsthand, she's laid it out there. But what was the most important factor? It's about shaping our narrative. And she's absolutely right. I remember growing up, my mother was an educator, and callers, I see you. My mother's an educator. My dad worked at the plant, and he made more money than her. And people used to kid around about, oh, the black intellectual, and you had to have these corporate jobs or those distinguished jobs versus a factory job, but everybody in the factory was making more than those intellectually driven people. Not anymore. Not anymore. And so then what do we do? You're absolutely correct. Because there used to be a time when you had some seniority in, and then you could bring your children in and your family members in, and folks knew that they were going to make a very good living in the factory. Not anymore. And even so much, those of us who took the bailout or took the package, the severance package, and had $50,000, $60,000, and thought that they were going to be entrepreneurs, and then after a year spent all that money and then had to go back to find a job. You have to be educated. And I'm not saying if your education has to be in a book in school. Not everyone gets that in a classroom, because remember, you're just given information, and then the best way you regurgitate it back determines your grade. So whether you are in the classroom or you're self-learned and you're teaching yourself, but you have to have a backup plan. It has to be more than that. It has to be. And that's for anyone who has a job, because a job is just a job. So you need to have a job, and then you need to have another plan. You need to have a job, and you need to be running your business. And if that means that you are sacrificing a lot, then so be it. Because to whom much is given, much is required. If you want to leave something for your children, if you want to have a different conversation, if you want to talk to them really about controlling your own destiny in ownership of a business, it is not easy, but you can do it. And they first learn from watching you. It's really that simple. Or if you put everything on a job, then they're going to have to understand that once the job goes, so go you. Great conversation. Let me see what you have to share this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Amazing. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well.
Good.
I like to say two things. First of all, with these corporations, et cetera, when they go through their changes, we the people end up holding the bag, the proverbial bag, all the time. These layoffs, massive layoffs, is nothing new. This is cyclical.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about when we had this so-called recession back in 2008.
Yes.
That was approximately 10 years ago.
Yes.
So what that should have taught people, or what should have happened perhaps, is that you had 10 years to build stack your money, or prepare for the next catastrophe.
Yes.
These things are cyclical. They happen over and over and over again.
Right.
And so we should learn lessons from this. If you suffer from the recession in 2008, there's no way you should be suffering the same type of recession in 2018.
Right.
You should have learned a lesson.
Yes.
And so this is a lesson for everybody. Don't even live up to your means, let alone above your means.
Right.
Live below your means. Stack your money in case of in times such as these.
Yes.
Second of all, I always said, going back to that, when our President Obama bailed out the mortgage companies, the crooks, in other words,
Yeah.
at the same time, he could have given us a little something, because he could have made a stipulation and said, now listen, we're going to bail you guys out, but since you scammed, for lack of a better word, the homeowners,
Yeah.
you're going to have to take a certain amount of percentage of their principals off their homes.
Yes.
The homes are not the value they were before.
Yes.
So in order for us to bail you out,
Yes.
you're going to have to, if a house costs $100,000, you're going to have to take it down to whatever, $50,000.
Yes.
And take that principal off those people. Why should we still be paying for devalued property?
Yes.
So again, the public is always going to be the scapegoat, hold the bag. Big corporate is not going to suffer.
Yes.
So once everybody realizes that, they can plan accordingly. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Have a better one. She hit it on the head. But see, those are conversations we don't want to have, because then that, to me, means that we have to do the work. I yelled and screamed and yelled and screamed when 2008 first hit. And we started seeing the movement in property and value, and people started losing homes, and specifically in those historic districts. I mean, where houses were regularly $120,000, $130,000 got down to $17,000, $10,000. And I told neighbors, guess what? Why are you underwater in what you're paying right now? if you save, you're paying $1,000 a month on a mortgage, as the caller just said, and you've had some money in savings, hold off for 5 months, stack that plus the 5 you had, and buy a house 2 doors down and move all your stuff in your house that's paid for. You don't have a mortgage anymore. Let them take that house, put that back on the market at its depreciated value, and then you buy that too. But see, we're too emotionally attached to things. Oh, well, no, because it took me 30 years to get this house, and it's going to take them 3 months to bring you under in it. And you keep holding on to something that doesn't have a value because we don't understand the importance of money. We don't understand business. And so we don't understand ROI, return on investment. And anytime you're underwater in an investment, then that means you need to regroup and do something else. How's that? Everybody, you're absolutely correct. Everyone should have been working to be in a space where if you were struggling with a home, that you have a home now that you don't have a mortgage on. You absolutely should. If you were struggling with a car situation, that you should be in a space now where you have a vehicle that you don't have a note on. But you have to make the conscious decision. Because everyone, especially when you see other people doing it, that's our problem too. You can see we can sit and talk all day about the Germans, the people from California, the Chinese, everybody coming in here and buying up all these properties, but you'll be living right next door and you won't buy the property. How's that? You'll have family members that need a place to stay and you won't, and you got the money sitting right there and you won't buy the property and put them in it. But you'll sit and tell about what everybody else is doing and how they're coming in buying up property. Absolutely, that's what we do. And we have the money. Don't act like we don't have the money. We have the money to do whatever it is we want to do. But we'll sit there and watch everybody else and then get mad when they reap the benefit of it. And when they own 5 and 6 houses on the block and you're sitting there looking crazy and then you'll sit and talk about it all day. I specifically told my mother, I don't want to hear about the white woman that's coming into your neighborhood and constantly buying up houses. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear her name. I don't want to hear that you all hee-hawed and she was talking to you. Are you crazy? Do you see what is happening around you? This lady doesn't have any respect for you all. You all been here 20, 30 years and haven't blocked her from buying up your stuff. Because if the situation were reversed, they'd be blocking you from coming in and buying stuff. Do you get it? But we don't understand how to make this work for us. And so she's absolutely right. We're consistently the proverbial on the hamster wheel, trying to catch up because we're always reactionary as opposed to being proactive. And then for those of us who know, we don't want to listen to those of us who know because then we'll say, oh, well, you think you know. Well, I know what I know. So if I own 8 properties, I can tell you about how to purchase a property because I own it. I'm not talking about something I don't know. But that's not what we do. So we'll sit and be mad at the people who are actively making it work. They're sitting there trying to show us what to do so that we can be in a better situation because a recession is coming. Don't think that it's not going to hit. It's coming. All these little inclinations, all of it's building up to the recession. One's coming. And then what are you going to do? You're going to be complaining again. GM is just but the start. Thanks for your patience. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me mute this. Yes, as you were speaking, there's a lot of Donald Trump. A lot of things you said this morning just resonate toward, and or just going forward. But Donald Trump, as he's educating people that's listening. People that's listening. It sounds what I'm saying that I don't agree with him, but he's educating. If you're listening. And he this thing about General Motors, and he says he can do this. Yeah. You know, I've been a worker, but in charge of people. And one thing I learned as person in charge is that just because you're the boss, that doesn't mean that people do what you say you want to do. He's the president, and he's going to China, and he's going to say this. Now he's educated. Now they already know. You know what? We can live without United States.
Yeah.
We have our own economy.
Yes.
We don't need you. You know what? And you're selling cars to us. Now, sit at the poker table, at the gambling game, and see who's going to bet and who's going to win.
Right.
Now, if you're not looking, you as an individual, as an American citizen, if you're not listening, you're going to be on the losing side.
Yes.
I'm not wishing harm on anybody.
Yes.
But I tell you what, I am not looking. I'm looking at this and hold your cards close to your chest.
Right.
Keep what you got. Don't get out there doing. I mean, I can give you all types of advice, but Donald Trump is listening now. All the things he said, he can wave a hand. You know, you're just the president. Look beyond that. The way this system is, whether you like it or not, is that he is not the only person that does this. He's stopping people at the border. He can give the order, but he has accumulated people that follow those orders.
Yes.
He wasn't the one that was shooting at those people, stopped with tear gas. You can call it whatever. Now, if you're not listening, and why are they coming? And they are coming.
Yeah.
He cannot stop them.
Yes. Yes.
All them people that your neighbors are going to be one of them pretty soon come up there.
Yeah. And stay there for a minute, because you make a really great point. And I really want us to think about what he just said. Be very clear that if we, people who are here, who have the mindset that you don't, the least of these, so we've already put ourselves in classes, specifically people who are not original from United States, if that makes sense. Or you've come over from Mexico already, or you've come over from someplace else, and now you want to create those boundaries for someone else to come up in here, because now you're passing judgment on who they are. Right? So they're supposed to be the crooks and the murderers and the rapists and all these people. That's not true. That's not true. But when you fall into the propaganda of someone who has a bigger agenda that you're not even privy to, that keeps you focused on something that has nothing to do with anything that's going to be of benefit to who you are in these United States of America. And they will keep sitting and manipulating to put monies in his pocket. Everything that Trump is doing is to build up his coffer. It has nothing to do with what's good for the people. And if anything, to the caller's point, we're sitting up here and we're not going to have an ally left. Because Kim Jong-un, he hawing with him. You don't hear anything else about that conversation. Putin, he's still having conversation with him, but you don't hear anything about what's really going on. Clearly now he's an ally with the Saudis. So how's that benefiting the bigger conversation about America? And then on top of that, we're not really honest and having the real conversation about who owns our debt. China owns our debt. You know, we're bought and sold by China. But people don't want to have that conversation either, because it's the mirage, it's the facade of who we are as America. Please continue your point.
Another thing I'm looking at is, why are those people coming here? It's because the things that America has done to those people down in their own country. In other words, they can't survive without whatever they're producing to make money that they're suppressed by, they're running from. Mm-hmm. And the people that are supplying that market is us in America. Okay. In other words, if the only product that you produce in Salvador is opioids and drugs, and your suppressor is shooting at you to do this, and you know it's wrong, you're going to leave. It's no different than when you left the South from slavery, coming up north to get Lincoln freed the slaves and Ford hired them when he said $5 a day.
Right. Right.
You moved.
You moved. Absolutely.
Now, in America, as a black person, you have no place to go.
Yeah. But you know what? Stay there, because you make a really good point. I want us to stay there for a second. When you then talk about, for example, absolutely, the drug trade and the opioids and what is being created, absolutely. If America is one of the biggest consumers of the cocaine and the cannabis alike, we're the biggest consumer. And the growth of it is happening in their countries. And we're the biggest consumer. How do you think it's going to fare off in how their living conditions are? It's not going to stop. Like, you actually think that we aren't aware as a governance of how all the tons and tons and tons of drugs are being brought into the country. Like, really? You think the guy on the block, like, he's responsible for it coming in here? Like, you really think that's what it is? It's the economy. It's the revenue stream. It's how America makes money and thrives. And it's always the travesty of those other groups. Absolutely. Those folks who are working in the coca fields and slaving and $1 a day and shenanigans. Absolutely. How do you expect them to live? Are you serious? And all the murders and the deaths with the cartels and the like, because people are trying to make a living based off of consumption from America and Europe. But we don't want to have those conversations because that's ownership. That's what we create. Y'all, you don't want to get that? And then we're mad because people are trying to come over here for a better life.
If they could live in their own country, they don't need to do that. They could live off the land and exist. They don't need to have a car. They don't need to have this. We need that. Why do you need to have a car? Why do you need to have whatever? You need a house, but what type of house do you need?
Right.
You need a place to stay, or whatever.
Right.
Okay. The reason you pay for those things, the water is essential needs, but they have turned the water into a commodity.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When I say a commodity, it is something that you're selling it to.
Yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. As opposed to certain things, you should not have to be in a state where you have inadequate water. For in any means, drinking, bathing, living, crops, whatever the case may be. And then
they have tied
right.
the consumption of water to the ownership of your property.
Yes, absolutely. Come on.
Okay. I look at it when I used to watch Cowboys all the time.
Okay.
And whatever. And I'd say, here's this guy. He's traveling these cows to or steers to another place to make money off of.
Yes.
And they need water to live.
Yes.
Everything needs water.
Yes.
And he gets to a stream, and the guy says, well, you can't drink my water. I'm going to charge you 10 cents a head for every one of them steers. Now, if they don't get the water, the cows die, and he don't have the money, and he loses.
Yes.
First thing he does as an American, he pulls out his gun and shoots that guy.
Right.
Takes the water.
Yes.
And moves on up there and sells his cows.
Yes.
We said, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. But I tell you what part is wrong? Who are you to judge?
Come on.
I am not the judge.
Come on.
I just know what happened. I know if you're not looking and listening, it's going to happen to you.
And you know what? And you make another great point. And I want us to get that takeaway today as well. We are always so critical at what other people do to survive. We're not helping them, but we're critical about what they resort to take care of themselves and their families. We're judgmental about what they've done, but you're not doing anything to walk in their shoes, to be able to provide resources, to be able to create an understanding so that they don't have to make the decisions that they make. We're not, none of that. We don't do that, but we'll be the main ones that are critical about them. As I stated, as Machiavelli said, we're focused on who we want the world to be and who people should be versus what it is. Because if we understood what it is, we would all be helping each other. Because guess what? If I'm in a community, specifically if we just look at the Detroit region, we always talk about the 7.2 from the downtown to the boulevard. And then outside of that, it's community. If people are struggling in the community and you're in the community and you have something that they deem that they need and that they want, they're going to come after you to get it. Did you get what I said? So I'm going to come knocking on your door. If I'm hungry and you're not helping me eat and you're right next door to me, I'm going to come and knock on your door. And then what did Tupac used to say? He had a great analogy. He said, in the beginning, you're going to be nice. We are hungry. Please let us in. We are hungry. And then after you keep doing that and they don't sit and try to support you, what did he say? You're going to come kicking in the doors with your guns blasting. So then I'm going to start taking from you. And see, that's what we don't get. That we're all in the same boat. I don't care where you live. I don't care if you live in the Bagley community, University District, Russell Woods. I don't care, Indian Village. If you're all still surrounded by communities that are struggling, they will come after you. It's the truth. And so you better help your brother and your sister. You better be concerned about what's in stake and how they're living, because if not, they will come to you. It is that simple, and it's a cycle that consistently repeats itself. You can't get away from it. It doesn't happen that way. But maybe that goes to the content of our character yet again, because we don't want to be honest and owning that we should be looking out for each other. That's it. Caller?
Yes, I'm listening, and I agree. And the most difficult thing is that you sit at the dinner table and you want all of it, and you want to share it with your family.
Right. Say that.
Just
say
sit
that.
at the dinner table. You do it.
Say that. With
I
your
didn't
family.
get enough.
Yeah.
And then it took me years to learn, your stomach is only as large as your hand, but your plate is bigger than your hand.
Say
Jesus
that.
Christ, help me.
Yes. Yes. And you all, did you get it? It is as true as he just said. Absolutely. Absolutely. If we shared with each other, our biggest disconnect is with our families. That's all you had to do. Everyone, we keep talking about, the better community, the bigger community. Well, the community is us, and it starts with our families. But we can create a connection and a cohesion with us and our families. Do you all get that? And then we wonder why we have the situations that we do. We have the dissension in our families because we don't look out and share with each other in our families. That's a whole different conversation. Maybe I'll pick that up next week. You gave us some great points on today. I appreciate you.
Hey, keep smiling.
Amen.
It's all good.
It's all
It
good.
is all
That's
good.
right. That's right. Have an amazing day. Thank you. Thanks so much for your call. I think you're the last caller for today. Good morning.
Good morning, Queen.
Good morning, King.
I like to bring up the fact that I'm forever thankful for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And, seeing our brother Minister Farrakhan, I don't know if you got a chance to see the latest final call.
I have
and
not.
Minister Farrakhan going over to Iran, over to Iran.
Okay.
And he was able to address the universities. He was able to hire and sitting office over there, and he carried our fight over there.
Okay.
In other words, the minister, he went over and told about our 463 years of servitude in America, and what we've been through here in America, and he's opening so many doors for us.
Okay.
And and I noticed how all the media outlets basically were blacking it out about the minister being over in Iran.
Right.
And if you get a chance, go on YouTube
I will.
and pull up those addresses that he addressed over there to the media.
Okay.
I mean, he really laid a base for us, and he spoke in our behalf, and he didn't go over there with his hat in his hand. He went over as a leader, as a representative of Almighty God. Yeah. You got to listen to those lectures that he done over there, whatever.
Okay. I'll absolutely pull them up. And
you have a blessed weekend, Queen.
You too as well, King.
I
Thank you. Love you too. I mean, that's what it's about. Again, I think it all goes back to the content of our character and then determining leadership. And what do we do if we want to do anything? And at the end of the day, leading yourself. So if someone opens the door for you and you agree to that and you honor them in that, absolutely. But then you have to govern you. You have to know what you stand for, what your moral fiber is, what you believe in, and how you treat each other. And then if there's something that you need to correct, that you need to do that too. You determine, the character of who you are determines what leadership looks like in all aspects of your life. And I hope that is your takeaway with us for today. That I can sit and give you all these examples, but the truth is, for us to better understand who we are, we talk about those examples, but it all comes back to us. So you learn from those examples. And then you need to sit back and talk about, well, if I believe a certain way, if I look at it a certain way, what does that say about me? If I have a problem with it, then I need to do something different for me. If I don't have a problem, but it has an impact on me, then I need to assess what that looks like for me. Because don't you understand that the character is you? That's what I wanted us to get to after our 2 hours of conversation today. That all of it, the theory is really who we are, who we believe ourselves to be, and the impact that we're going to have on each other as well as ourselves. Because it's an ever-going cycle. It's an ongoing process. I'm going to leave you with this quote on this morning. Leadership consists not in degrees of technique, but in traits of character. It requires moral rather than athletic or intellectual effort. And it imposes on both leader and follower alike the burdens of self-restraint. Hello? It's about who we are, what we believe it to be, and how then we govern ourselves based on it. We're going to be better. We're going to have the conversations that make us better. And while we're looking at others as the example, it's going to cause us to empower ourselves. That's our truth. That is what our takeaway is. That's what's going to happen on Coffee and Conversation with Collette for us every week. Because all these examples just make us better. It doesn't point fingers at who they are and what they do. It's about who we are when we see what they do, and then we assess and believe what it is that we're looking at. And if we don't, then what do we do? So these are all examples for us to be better. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the conversations. It matters. It makes me better, and I don't take you for granted. Have an amazing rest of the day. For those of you, there is food distribution tomorrow at the Dabo Sheffield Center at 12048 Grand River at 5 p.m. That's our food distribution. You're more than welcome to come out and to get something that's going to help you and your family. Because again, it's about helping each other. I appreciate you. Make today amazing. I'll see you all tomorrow at the center if you come out for food distribution. If not, I'll see you next week.